I've been studying anatomy almost every day for months now. And a few days ago, I sat down to draw a figure, and it was bad. Not beginner bad, but worse. Because I could see what was wrong, but I couldn't fix it. So today I want to talk about why that happens and what I think might actually help. My study routine looked like this. I'd spent a few weeks on the torso, the ribcage, the spine, how the forms sit on top of each other. I'd fill pages with notes and reference copies. I felt like I understood it in isolation, and the sketches actually looked right. Then I'd move on to the limbs. Arms, legs, how they attach, how they foreshorten. Same thing. Lots of notes, diagrams, copying from references. Again, looking good, or at least better than before. And on paper, it all looks like real progress. I was consistent, I was studying difficult material, I was improving, or so I thought. But when I sat down to draw from imagination, I'd try, and what came out was wrong. Not randomly wrong, specifically wrong. The torso proportion would be off because I'd forgotten the ratios I drilled weeks earlier. The legs would attach at the wrong place because I hadn't drawn that connection in so long, the muscle memory just wasn't there anymore. I knew the theory, I just couldn't execute it. And the frustrating thing is, that feeling is so easy to misread. It feels like you need to study more, go back, review, take more notes. So you do. And the cycle continues. Especially in art, progress is subtle. And the worst part is, you can study for weeks before you even discover nothing stuck, because you never tested it. And that's the trap. We spend all our time learning, but we are actually just productive procrastinators. When I finally stepped back to look at why my studies weren't making perfect drawings, I realized I was thinking about learning the wrong way. So here's the actual distinction that changed how I think about this. There are two very different things happening when you study art. First, you build knowledge. You get an understanding of how something works, why it's constructed a certain way, and what the rules are. Then there's skill, learning the ability to actually produce that thing with your own hand. Those two things don't automatically translate into each other. You can have a lot of one and very little of the other. And I think most self-taught artists, especially when we get serious about anatomy, pour almost everything into knowledge and far too little into skill application. Simply because studying feels productive in a way that just drawing doesn't. Drawing from imagination is uncomfortable. You make wrong constructions. You can't hide behind the reference. It feels like failure, even when it's actually just a learning process doing what it's supposed to do. Taking a break from structured study isn't the same as slacking off. It's switching from input mode to output mode. And you need both. The knowledge you've been absorbing has to go somewhere. It has to get used, broken, tested, and rebuilt by your own hand before it becomes a skill. If you never make that switch, the knowledge just accumulates and decays. And when you do come back to studying after that, and you will, you'll come back with real questions instead of just covering material. That's when studying actually starts to compound. So that's what I'm doing now. And it's what you're watching. I decided to stop studying for a bit and just make something. And here's the thing, I didn't make a figure study. I didn't make something educational. I made this, some cute dog designs for my shop. On the surface, it has nothing to do with what I've been studying, but underneath, I'm trying to give them structure. I feel more confident when drawing the forms of the head or the limbs, actually constructing them. Instead of just randomly placing lines and shapes and endlessly liquefying, I've started to think about the underlying structure, and that has massively improved my progress. So I really am applying the knowledge I've gained. That's what the output phase looks like. It's not always a perfect anatomy study. Sometimes it's just some chubby dogs. I chose dogs, but that's just me. What's really important is making sure you use the knowledge you've gained. These are going into my shop, which, if you don't know about it, is pretty different from this channel. No anatomy over there. Just cute animal designs that I make because they genuinely make me happy. I'll put the link below. And honestly, the shop is a part of why I keep returning to my studies. I want to improve my anatomy enough to feel confident creating character illustrations that I can actually add to the shop. My goal isn't to make them more technical, but to make them genuinely better, more confident, more lively. that growth comes from studying, even if it isn't immediately obvious on the surface. I've already planned my next illustration, and it's going to feature a character, of course. That means I'll definitely need to revisit some studies, but this time with a clear problem to solve. Applying knowledge to solve real issues helps it stick way more than just studying aimlessly. If you are in that loop right now, studying consistently, feeling like you should be improving, sitting down to draw and coming out frustrated, I don't think the answer is more study. I think the answer is to make something real, something you actually want to finish. Let the knowledge get tested, let it break a little, and you start to realize how much actually did improve. And if you made it this far, let me know what you make when you're taking a break from studying. Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely interested in what you're all working on. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I see you in the next one.